I had a ton of people comment on the last video that they wanted to see more of this type of video, so I'm making exactly the same type of video. That's right, today we're going over 6 more Pokemon that you can safely invest your Stardust and rare candies into in Pokemon Go and not have to worry about them being replaced somewhere down the line. If you missed the first video, I'll link to it down in the description, so make sure you go click on that after this one's done. Before we get started, I just want to remind you of some concepts: DPS and TDO. DPS stands for damage per second. It's literally how fast a Pokemon deals damage. TDO stands for total damage output, and that is basically how much damage a Pokemon deals before fainting. That takes into account defensive stats. So DPS, some Pokemon deal damage very fast, but they're going to faint in one hit and then end up not really dealing all that much damage. Whereas a Pokemon with high TDO might not have the highest DPS, but because it has better defensive stats, it's going to stay in battle longer and end up dealing more damage than a glass cannon would. So let's start with our Pokemon for today. Number 1, Mamoswine. Shadow Mamoswine with Powder Snow and Avalanche is probably forever and always going to be the best Ice-type attacker in Pokemon Go. Even regular Mamoswine, the non-Shadow version, is better, is stronger than Mega Abomasnow, and it's like 1% weaker than Mega Glalie. So future and current Mega Ice-type Pokemon can't even compete with Shadow Mamoswine. The only Pokemon whose damage even comes close to Shadow Mamoswine is Shadow Weavile and Galarian Darmanitan, but both of them are too fragile to really compete with the TDO of Shadow Mamoswine. Now, sometime in the future, we will get Black Kyurem, which is a very good Ice type, but it doesn't actually learn any Ice type fast moves. So if you're looking for all Ice type damage, Shadow Mamoswine is going to remain the best attacker probably forever. The next Pokemon on our list today is Moltres with Wing Attack and Sky Attack. That's right, a flying type attacker. Moltres. Yesterday we talked about Rayquaza being the best, Mega Rayquaza being the best overall flying type. Shadow Moltres is the best non-Mega flying type attacker. So of course, when the time comes, you can have your Mega Rayquaza, but you can only have one at a time. So what are you going to back it up with? How about Moltres? If you have a good Shadow Moltres, it's going to be the best flying type DPS and TDO, and regular Moltres, the non-Shadow, is the best non-Mega, non-Shadow flying type attacker. Now, Shadow Honchkrow does outdamage regular Moltres, so if you have a good Shadow Honchkrow, that's another one that's worth investing in, but I feel like good IV Moltres is probably easier to come across than a good IV Shadow Honchkrow, just because of the amount of times that we've had Moltres available in raids in Pokemon Go. And all of these flying types that we just talked about are in a good position because in the future, there are no more new flying type legendaries coming to Pokemon Go. Now, as far as Megas, we do have Mega Rayquaza coming, but we already talked about that. And as for the rest of the Megas, Mega Salamence, Mega Aerodactyl, they don't even learn any flying type moves. So unless they get new moves, they don't have any chance of outdamaging Moltres, Shadow Honchkrow as flying type attackers. Next up, let's talk about Zekrom. Zekrom, I'm not 100% confident in recommending because there are actually a lot of decent electric type options, but Zekrom is the best non-Shadow, non-Mega electric type attacker. Mega Manectric is going to be the best electric type Mega. Unfortunately, if it's not Mega evolved, Manectric is like barely even in the top 20 electric type attackers. So yes, you can have your one Mega Manectric. I would recommend that, but you got to back it up with something. And aside from Mega Manectric, the 3 Pokemon that outdamage Zekrom are Shadow Raikou, Shadow Electivire, and Shadow Zapdos. So if you have a good Shadow Raikou, I would absolutely recommend powering that up. I don't even have one. I missed the opportunity to catch it. We've only had one opportunity to get Shadow Raikou, so it's hard to recommend. But Zekrom, a Pokemon that was in raids, and in raids recently actually, is a lot more accessible. So if you have a good Zekrom, it's not the best electric type, but it's a very, very good electric type and an accessible electric type. In the future, we will have both Regieleki and Zeraora coming to Pokemon Go, and even though their attack stats are both similar to Zekrom, their defensive stats are a lot lower, so overall they're not going to be able to compete. So the last video I was pretty much recommending all Mega Pokemon. This video we haven't had any yet, but that's about to change. Next on the list, Gengar. Mega Gengar is the best ghost type attacker in Pokemon Go. For fast moves, both Lick and Shadow Claw perform almost exactly the same, and then Shadow Ball is the charge move that you want. And with that setup, Mega Gengar is going to be the best DPS and the best TDO of any ghost types. The only Pokemon that could potentially threaten that #1 spot is Shadow Rider Calyrex. And who knows when we're going to get that. And also, like in yesterday's video, like Groudon and Kyogre, it's dependent on its signature move, Astral Barrage. Currently, Shadow Rider Calyrex can't learn Shadow Claw, it can't learn Lick, but it can learn Hex, it's a pretty good fast move. And again, it's going to depend on its signature move, Astral Barrage. Currently, with the moves that it can learn, excluding that signature move, it's not going to come close to Mega Gengar. And then our last Pokemon for today, a Fairy type. A type we don't really see all that often as attackers in Pokemon Go. The best one, though, is Gardevoir. Gardevoir with Charm and Dazzling Gleam. Gardevoir currently is the best non-Mega, non-Shadow Fairy type attacker in terms of DPS. It's outdamaged only by Shadow Granbull and Shadow Gardevoir. And then when you look at TDO, Togekiss does move very slightly above Gardevoir. So Togekiss is also good until Gardevoir gets a Mega Evolution. Mega Gardevoir will be the best Fairy type attacker, DPS and TDO. Nothing's going to compete with it. The only future Fairy type that could really potentially compete with Mega Gardevoir is Crowned Sword form Zacian, which unfortunately doesn't learn Charm, and that's the only Fairy type fast move in Pokemon Go. So unless something changes there, it's going to be Mega Gardevoir, and nothing else is going to come close. Now, if you're keeping count, you're probably asking, wait a minute, last Pokemon, that was only #5. And you're right, I just can't count. I wrote down 5 Pokemon to talk about, and then I called the video 6 Pokemon to power up. So I'm going to pull a 6th Pokemon out of my hair. The Pokemon we're talking about now is Zarude. Zarude is interesting. Grass type as a whole is interesting in Pokemon Go because there isn't really a clear-cut best grass type attacker until we get Mega Sceptile. Mega Sceptile is going to be a huge outlier. It's going to be way better than the rest of the grass type attackers. But again, this video is about Pokemon you can power up right now, and because Mega Sceptile hasn't been released yet, I can't recommend it. However, when it does get released, I would absolutely power up one, and only one, Sceptile, because Mega Sceptile is going to be #1. Sceptile, regular Sceptile, is not even in the top 15 best grass types. The grass type, again, that I recommend powering up is Zarude. Zarude's interesting because everybody who was playing Pokemon Go at the time had a chance to get it through special research, the Search for Zarude special research. If you haven't finished it yet, but you started it, you still have access to it. Now, if you weren't playing Pokemon Go at the time that Zarude was released through special research, unfortunately, it's not a Pokemon that you can get right now, but like everything else in Pokemon Go, it'll definitely come back around and be available again in the future, so keep that in mind. Now currently, Zarude with Vine Whip and Power Whip actually only barely makes the top 10 in terms of grass type DPS, but all the Pokemon that are above it are Shadow Pokemon. So Zarude, even though it's barely in the top 10, is still the best non-Mega, non-Shadow grass type DPS. But the difference between the best grass type DPS right now and Zarude is only about 8%. Now, when you start looking at TDO, Zarude actually jumps up to 3rd overall behind only Mega Sceptile and Mega Venusaur. So overall, TDO, Zarude is the best non-Mega grass type attacker. Now Zarude, again, is a Pokemon that we've only had one opportunity to get in Pokemon Go, which means if you actually want to power it up, realistically, you do have to put some rare candy into it. If you wanted to walk with Zarude as your buddy to earn enough candy to power it up to level 40, you'd have to walk like 5,000 kilometers. So if you have rare candy to spend, this is definitely a good Pokemon to spend it on because there's not really any other realistic way of maxing it out, powering it up, as opposed to a Pokemon that's available in raids and you can raid a bunch to get candy for it. Zarude, your options are rare candy or walk 5,000 kilometers. So there you have it, 6 more Pokemon that you can comfortably invest resources in Pokemon Go. I won't say all of these are as strong recommendations as the previous video, which again, if you missed that, linked down below, or you can click on the card that pops up at the end here. But overall, definitely very strong candidates for powering up, especially if you've already maxed out everything that we talked about in the last video. If there are any other topics like this that you'd like to see me cover, leave a comment down below. I'll see you in the next one.